Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. Now if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at Pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Wednesday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Detroit Tigers taking on the Minnesota Twins. Reese Olson and Kenta Maeda are your starters. Yeah, we saw the same pitching matchup last week in a very low-scoring 3-0 Tigers win, and both starting pitchers pitched really well in that game. Olson, 6 innings, 2 hits, shutout baseball, 8 strikeouts in the end. Kenta Maeda, 6 innings, only 3 hits with 1 run allowed, 4 strikeouts, and he's been pitching really well for Minnesota as of late. For me, I know it's not easy to face the same lineup twice in a short span of time, but both of these starters were so dominant in that game. I think we see another low-scoring one this one. I'm going to take the under here in Detroit, Minnesota. Next up, the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the New York Mets. We're going to see Johan Oviedo and Tyler McGill on the mound. Now, in Tyler McGill's first 2 starts back at the Major League level, he went 10 innings combined, giving up 10 earned runs and 2 home runs with 18 base hits as well. Now, I know those were against 2 of the better teams in baseball in the Orioles and Braves, but it doesn't get too much easier, believe it or not, against this Pittsburgh Pirates lineup, as the Buccos in the last month are top 15 in baseball in OPS and top 10 in isolated power against righties. So I do think the Pirates get after McGill early in this game. Johan Oviedo, it wasn't his best start last time against the Reds, gave up 6 earned runs. Even if he's not perfect in this one, I do think the Pirates back him up here offensively, and the bullpen for the Pirates has been one of the better bullpens in baseball in the last 30 days with good expected numbers and ERA at 3.88. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Pirates here at a good price on the money line on the road. Next up, the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Colorado Rockies. No official starter for Arizona. We should see Austin Gomber for the Rockies. And Gomber, we've talked about it. He's really made improvements to his game. So far in August, a 1.64 ERA through 11 innings. In the month of July, a 3 ERA through 30 innings. He's pitching deeper into ball games, a lot of quality starts. I think he pitches well against Diamondbacks team that's not hit lefties very well this season or in the last month. I know it's at Coors Field, but Gomber has plenty of experience pitching there. I think he has the upper hand compared to this Diamondbacks bullpen that this season, at the beginning of the season was pitching really well, but in the last month has been one of the worst bullpens in baseball, ERA above 6. Give me the Colorado Rockies on the money line at Coors Field. Next up, the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the San Francisco Giants. Aaron Savale for Tampa Bay, no official starter for San Francisco. I don't love the current form that Savale is in. His first 2 starts as a Ray, only going 4 1/3 and 5 innings. His pitch count's going way up early in games, not striking out batters, only 6 strikeouts through his first 9 1/3 innings with the Rays. And it's why his expected numbers are pretty steep. He's at the lowest strikeout rate of his career this far, one of the higher walk rates of his career. I think even though the Giants are slumping offensively, this team should be able to get to Savale, and we have a good Giants bullpen to back him up. So I'm going to take the San Francisco Giants on the money line at Oracle Park. Next up, it's the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Noah Syndergaard and Andrew Abbott are your starters. To me, this is a lopsided pitching matchup. Andrew Abbott, a lefty, facing a Guardians team that we know has really struggled against lefties this season. They struggled in 2022, and they were no hit by Framber Valdez not too long ago. In the last month, they're dead last in baseball in OPS against lefties, 29th in isolated power. Yes, they have a very low strikeout rate. This team does not strike out much, but no pop in the lineup against lefties recently, and I do think they struggle here against Abbott, who's having a very good season overall for Cincinnati. Noah Syndergaard had his best start as a Guardian last game against the Blue Jays, 5 2/3 innings, only 1 run. He had 5 strikeouts in that game as well, but overall this season it just hasn't been a very good year for Syndergaard with an ERA above 6. Gives up a lot of sharp contact, and before that game against the Blue Jays, gave up 4 home runs against the Chicago White Sox. At Great American Ballpark, a very hitter-friendly ballpark against a tough Reds lineup. I don't love Syndergaard's matchup here. Give me the Cincinnati Reds on the money line and the run line, land those 1.5 runs. Next up, it's the Houston Astros taking on the Miami Marlins. Justin Verlander and Jesus Luzardo are your starters. Now, Luzardo was pitching really well in Lone Depot Park this season, but his last game against the New York Yankees, he really struggled at home in 3 1/3 innings, giving up 7 earned runs and 2 home runs. And overall now, Luzardo's last 3 starts, 4 earned runs or more in those games. The Marlins are 1-2 in those ball games. And you're facing a Houston Astros lineup in this one that's crushed lefties this season. In the last month, very good numbers against lefties. Top 5 in isolated power, top 3 in team OPS with a very low strikeout rate to go with it. I do worry about Luzardo in this matchup, especially because Justin Verlander's on the other side, pitching really well for his new team. He was a member of the Astros last year, so his first 2 starts back, 13 innings of work, 5 earned runs, 11 strikeouts. His last game against the Angels, the Astros earned the W 11-3. I think he's good enough here for an Astros win. Again, give me the Houston Astros on the money line. Next up is the St. Louis Cardinals hosting the Oakland A's. We're going to see Paul Blackburn and Matthew Liberatore on the mound in this one. Now, Liberatore probably coming off his best start of his career thus far, at least at the major league level. I mean, 8 innings of work, a shutout baseball, only 2 base hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts in that 5-2 Cardinals win. And he's facing an Oakland A's team in this one where it's 26th in baseball in OPS and isolated power against lefties in the last month. So a really good matchup for Liberatore. I think he puts together another quality start here. Paul Blackburn, even though he struggled his last game, I still believe he's the best option in this A's rotation. And he was pitching really well before that start against the Nationals. The Nationals are a tough lineup to face. They really do a great job at limiting strikeouts. And I think Paul Blackburn bounces back here, gives the A's some decent innings. I'm going to take the under here in the first 5 innings in Athletics Cardinals. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Washington Nationals. James Paxton and Mackenzie Gore are your starters. Now, Mackenzie Gore struggled his last game against the Phillies, gave up 6 earned runs and 3 home runs, but that's a Phillies team he has struggled against all season, and a team that hits lefties very well, so no surprise for me. The Red Sox in the last month, though, they have not been great against lefties. Power-wise, OPS-wise, his team is near the bottom of the league, so I do think Gore could bounce back here. I mean, he was pitching pretty well before that game against the Phillies. James Paxton's been better at Fenway Park, believe it or not, than on the road, where he's got an ERA above 4 away from Fenway. And, the Nationals, we talk about it all season. They hit lefties pretty well. They limit strikeouts at the plate. Their OPS is in the top 10 against lefties in the last month. The power numbers aren't too shabby. For me, there's value here with the Washington Nationals. I don't love this bullpen, but I do think the offense gets after it early on in this game, gives the Nats a good chance to win it, at least cover the run line. So I'll take those 1.5 runs with the Washington Nationals. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman and Aaron Nola are your starters. You're not my favorite game on the board, as both of these teams have not been great offensively against righties in the last month, but I do think the Blue Jays have the slightly better starter and the better bullpen in this matchup. I mean, Nola bounced back his last game against the Nationals, 5 innings, only 1 run with 6 strikeouts, and I do think he is better than his current ERA at 4.49, but Gausman's been really tough to beat at Rogers Center this season. Good numbers. His last start against the Guardians on the road, actually, 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, a shutout baseball. He's just in good form right now. Outside of that game against the Orioles, pitching really well for Toronto. And when you look at the bullpens, the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen has been good this season, but in the last month, the expected numbers starting to concern me a little bit. The 5th highest Sierra, a 4.8 xFIP as well. I do think the Blue Jays have the advantage if this is a close game late. So I'm going to lean towards the Toronto Blue Jays on the money line at Rogers Center. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Atlanta Braves. We're going to see Randy Vasquez and Charlie Morton on the mound as the projected starters, but there's no official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change. Now, for me, I know a lot of you guys are saying the Yankees are on auto fade mode right now. You just can't trust them right now. I don't blame you. I mean, this team is playing pretty uninspiring baseball pretty much all around. I mean, the starting rotation, the lineup, and the bullpen. And for me, Randy Vasquez has got good numbers on paper, 1.89 ERA thus far, but only 19 innings of work, very small sample size. When you look at the expected numbers, they are not very good. The xFIP, the expected ERA, the FIP, the Sierra, all concerning. Makes me think there's going to be some regression in the future. And what better way to show that regression against the number 1 lineup in baseball against righties in the Atlanta Braves? I do think Vasquez could be in trouble in this one. The Yankees lineup has just not been very good against righties this season. Charlie Morton's kind of been an up and down, last couple of starts or so. His last game, it was, sharp against the Mets, 5 innings to shutout ball. Before that, he was struggling. But against this Yankees lineup, I'm going to take the Braves here and lay the 1.5 runs at home. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Kansas City Royals. We're going to see Luis Castillo for Seattle, no official starter for KC. Now, not my favorite game on the board, but my thought process with this one is to do a same-game parlay, try to get better odds, and, because the Mariners are pretty big favorites in this one, I do think they win the game, but I wouldn't want to lay this kind of price. So I'm leaning towards the Mariners and the over in a same-game parlay here, as I do think we're going to see a high-scoring game no matter what. Castillo has pitched well this year, but on the road, not so much. We saw his last road game against the Angels. Really struggled in that one, gave up 7 earned runs and 3 home runs. And the Royals have really done well against righties in the last month. Believe it or not, their numbers are some of the best in the league. Their OPS is 6th in baseball, 7th in isolated power, a very low strikeout rate. So it's not the easiest matchup for Castillo. The problem is, with no official starter for KC, we can infer that the Royals are going to utilize their bullpen, for quite a few innings in this ball game. And this has been one of the worst bullpens in baseball. An ERA in the last month above 6. Sierra, that's worst in the league. We saw the first game of this series; they almost blew the lead. And I do think the Mariners will be able to back up Castillo and the bullpen in the end. So I expect a high-scoring game. I like the Mariners to win in the end. So give me a same-game parlay, Mariners and the over to get a better price. Next up, the Battle of Chicago as the White Sox take on the Cubs. Javier Assad and Mike Clevinger are your starters. And Mike Clevinger has been a lot better as of late. Now his ERA down to 3.55 on the season. But it is a very tough matchup for him facing a Cubs team that in the last month, number 2 in baseball against righties in team OPS. Some of the best isolated power numbers in the league as well. So I do think Clevinger could struggle. I also don't love this White Sox bullpen, nor do I love the White Sox bats to back up Clevinger. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of run support in this game. Even though Javier Assad may not be my favorite option, I do see some regression concerns in this game. I think it'll be good enough here for the Cubs to grab a really important victory over their big-time rivals. So give me the Chicago Cubs on the money line at Wrigley Field. Next up, the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Texas Rangers. Reed Detmers and John Gray are your starters. Going to go with the Rangers here on the money line. Reed Detmers, an ERA now above 5 on the season. Can't trust him here against a very good Rangers lineup. We see Detmers' last 2 starts, 7 earned against the Mariners, 7 earned against the Astros in 6 1/3 innings. The Angels are 0-4 his last 4 starts. All 4 of those all 4 of those losses by 2 or more runs. The Rangers have crushed lefties this season. They got to Patrick Sandoval earlier in this series. And, John Gray, a nice bounce-back start. He was not pitching too well for the Rangers. He was kind of inconsistent, but his last game against the Giants, 7 innings, a shutout ball, 7 strikeouts, no walks. His control was there. Give me the Texas Rangers here on the money line and run line. Next up, it's the Baltimore Orioles taking on the San Diego Padres. Dean Kramer and Blake Snell are your starters. I'm going to go with the Padres in the first 5 innings. Dean Kramer has been giving up a lot of sharp contact in his recent games. His last start, 2 home runs against the Houston Astros. Now, he was good enough for the Orioles to win that game, and he's been one of the more profitable pitchers in baseball, but he's going up against one of the best pitchers in baseball right now, Blake Snell, who's got a 2.63 ERA overall this season. We talk about it in the month of June. He had a .87 ERA, a .56 in July. He started August not in the best of form against the Dodgers, gave up 3 runs in 5 innings of work, but bounced back with a quality start against Arizona the next game, 7 strikeouts, 6 innings of work. When you look at the Orioles, decent numbers against lefties in the last month, but I still think Snell puts together a good quality start. We know Snell, his pitch count usually goes up early in outings, so he probably won't pitch too deep into this ball game, maybe 5-6 innings. That's why I'll just take the Padres in the first 5 because I do think the Orioles have the advantage in the bullpen. Next up, it's the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers, the final game for Wednesday's card in Major League Baseball. Wade Miley and Clayton Kershaw are your starters in this one. I'm going to take the Dodgers in the first 5 innings, lay a half a run or a run if you want to get a better price there. But I do think Kershaw, his first start back from the injury, he was sharp. 5 innings, only 3 hits, 1 run, no walks. His control was there in a 2-1 Dodgers win. The Brewers have improved their numbers offensively against lefties as the season's gone on, but I still like the matchup here for Kershaw. Wade Miley's been pitching well for Milwaukee, but it is a tough matchup here on the road against the Dodgers, a team that we know has hit lefties well this season. And when you look at the numbers, Miley a 2.9 ERA on the season, but a 4.68 expected ERA, a 4.79 xFIP. There are some regression concerns going forward. I do think the Dodgers get to him early on. In the late innings, I do think the Brewers have the advantage of the bullpen, so that's why I'm just going to take the Dodgers in the first 5 innings. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.